Joining us this time around at Author's Corner is a very talented man, Christopher Gary Simmons. It's audio and it's a book, and I'll explain. And it's called A Tribute to Hip Hop and Shakespeare's Othello, When the Night Fell, Part 1, Clear Rise. So When the Night Fell is a literary version of the modern musical. You follow the characters Clear, Iago, Cash, and Diamond on a theatrical odyssey inspired by the fictional tragedies of the Shakespearean cast that includes Othello, Iago, Michael, Cassio, and Desdemona. Perceptions of race, class, and societal norms are all challenged here. Imagine Othello for a second reincarnated as a white minority navigating through the predominantly African-American hip-hop community and culture of today. So this book pays homage to a classic piece of literature by sparking our imagination and really expanding our perspective, and that nails it. Author Christopher Gary Simmons elevates his unique style of spoken word poetics by combining the storytelling of William Shakespeare with the broken English of Langston Hughes. The rhythmic production used throughout the audiobook, is what I mentioned, enhances the reading experience, creating a profound tribute to lyricists everywhere and our memory of the character Othello. This innovative project will move readers, I really believe that, to connect with Shakespearean's dramatic tale while being transported blissfully to a new level of melodic expression. Christopher Gary Simmons is in our virtual green room. Christopher, thanks so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about the title and what it means in relationship to the story that I was laying out there in that intro.
Got it. So it's a tribute to hip hop and Shakespeare's Othello. So the idea is, if you took the cast of Othello and just transported them into today's time, what would that cast look like, and what would that story look like? And then how would it be told? And so transferring not only the characters, but also transferring the medium by which it's shared. So taking the iambic pentameter of Shakespeare and transitioning it into a lyrical style, line for line, character for character, from the beginning to the end, it totally transforms it into something that is the same and completely different at the same time. And so that was what the intention was. So When the Night Fell is the idea of, and it's spelled K-N-I-G-H-T, so not when the night fell, but when the night fell. So the idea is that Othello kind of fell on his sword at the behest of Iago and his urgings, and so my character Clear is the same character, just in reverse, with one Caucasian male character and a cast of African American characters or characters of color. He falls on his sword in the same way. So, but just in modern times, and every line and every lyric is written so that it's a back and forth exchange of lyrical kind of conversation between each character. And it has an audiobook that goes with it, with a musical complement that allows you to listen to it as a full-on musical. So that's the idea of it. And so I called it When the Night Fell because obviously Othello falls at the end of the story of Shakespeare, and then you'll find out what happens to Clear at the end of When the Night Fell. So it's a tribute to hip-hop. It's a tribute to Shakespeare. And I call it Clear's Rise because it's the first half of the story. And so it takes you through his rise. And then the next book, which will be Clear's Fall, will take you through his fall.
What was it like reversing, kind of inverting the story, then also putting the music to it and combining that? What was that process like for you?
Well, I thought a lot about who would these characters be, who in real time, what would they be? And I thought, for lack of a better example, Eminem was kind of the first person that I could think of that would fit into the mold of maybe who this character might be, and who would he fall in love with, right? And so maybe he falls in love with a record producer's daughter, or maybe it's a huge mogul like Jay-Z, and he falls in love with Jay-Z's daughter, if Jay-Z's daughter was of age, right? Or someone like that. And what if there was someone in that community that really despised him as a person, or for whatever reason wanted to see him fall, and created enough consternation between him and that relationship, that it imploded in a way that was tragic. And so from that premise, I just kind of developed the lyrics to go along with each character's words, and I try to utilize Shakespeare's creativity to kind of infuse what a MC or an artist or a lyricist today would say in terms of what Shakespeare was trying to express.
Yeah, so that's literary musical. That's the term that you use to describe the book, and I guess you've really kind of laid that out for us, but it's good to know that that's what the term means, right? What you're talking
Yes,
about.
Exactly. And the book is arranged in three segments. So the beginning of the book is the literary narrative. And so you have a description of each scene before the lyrical conversation starts, so you can know where the characters are, who they are, what they look like, what setting they're in. And so before each act and each scene, you kind of have a descriptive narrative in the literary narrative portion. Now, the literary musical portion takes out the narrative, and then you just get the lyrical conversation from beginning to end. And then I've added a third component, which is the instrumental for the literary musical, so that if by chance you're interested in kind of reciting it along on your own, or reciting it with friends, or performing it with each other in an attempt to recreate or recapture how it's being told in your own imaginative way with your own twist on how it's being presented, then you could do that as well.
Yeah. So as I sit here and I'm thinking about this, is the book more about Shakespeare or hip hop or combo?
I think it's a combination. I think what my goal is to have people who really understand Shakespeare and love it for its storytelling and its imagination and its beauty and its tragedy, to understand that hip hop is really a cousin to that literature. So it's a literary art form as well. There are a lot of artists and MCs who have spent years and years writing the material that they write, and creating this art form, not just kind of standing in front of a microphone and just saying something, but literally taking the time to kind of write out their thoughts, write out their ideas. And there are some who are just so imaginative that they don't need to write it down, that it comes so naturally that they can capture an expose just from standing in front of the microphone and having their experience kind of flow through them. So there are various versions of who those people are. And so I wanted to combine that ability to have structure within the writing and understand the importance of how much writing affects and impacts us, and how beautiful it is to understand that writing, even, as I say, in the broken English of Langston Hughes, is just as beautiful as the perfect Thoreau writing that we know and love.
So you hinted at this. You're doing a series of these Shakespearean plays translated into literary musicals using hip hop lyricism. So if you're doing that, I am so curious, which Shakespeare plays do you do next? What are you going to do in the future as the follow-up?
Yeah, so the goal is to share the second half, which would be When the Night Fell Part 2, Clear's Fall. So once you get Clear's Rise and you get a taste of that and you really like it, you're going to want to check out Clear's Fall. And then what I want to do is a deluxe version, because at this point the versions that are out, the version that is out and the second version that will come out, is just me going over the lines of each character. And so with the deluxe version, I want to create a situation where I'm able to bring in cast members to play the roles of each individual character. And so you'll get the whole thing from beginning to end, Clear's Rise and Fall, as one combined book. So there'll be three components. So there's Clear's Rise, Clear's Fall, Clear's Rise and Fall, the combination. And then following that, the two plays that have my eye on are Macbeth and Romeo and Juliet. And I kind of have an idea for what I want to do with Macbeth. And Romeo and Juliet is off in the distance, but it'll be the same format. I'll do the first half, the second half, and then a combination with a full cast of characters. So there'll be three kind of books for each play.
How fun is this for you to do it?
Time flies away. Everything disappears, and you get immersed into a brand new world of imagination and creativity and is culture. There are a lot of things that I did as far as a lyricist, or as far as like research, and just as far as creating the tone and tenor and the presentation of the lyrics that I didn't even realize I was doing until after I did it. And I would listen to music and I would like, oh, wow, that's a reference to that. Or wow, that goes to that. And it was the same way for some of the Shakespeare stuff. Like, oh, I didn't even know that I was bringing that to light. So there's a equal playing field for ways to mine the material to see how it really connects to Shakespeare and how it also connects just as relevantly to hip hop.
Yeah. Wow. So talented. So innovative, too. Christopher Gary Simmons. It's called A Tribute to Hip Hop and Shakespeare's Othello, When the Night Fell, Part 1, Clear's Rise. You can get that all on Amazon. Christopher, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. And the audiobook will be out soon. And the actual book is available on Amazon, as you said. And I think the audiobook is what people are really going to really love once they have their hands on the book. And so I want to thank you so much, Kate, for having me. I really appreciate the time. And looking forward to hearing how people react and respond to it and joy that they get out of it.
I love that. Christopher, thanks so much.
Who's the sexiest New York night? Who brings pleasure to the New York night? Well, clear the air, girl, I know that's right. No need for excess light, he's got a diamond 5'9", full figure, and straight shining. You know they hit the hottest spots on the islands, from that new club, Bonfire in the Bahamas, to right here in Manhattan. Now bring the karma. You can't stand it, well have a seat. Here comes the drama. We get it Versa and UZEE. I saw